I never thought I would be alive. The bullets were coming everywhere, heavy clashes. It's like some journalists in Sudan, they had to survive on 1 meal a day. The moment you start reporting, you go on the ground, they just shoot you. 90% of the stories of the war in Sudan has not been reported yet. We need to empower Sudanese media in order to play a role in stopping this war and ending this suffering.
Every crisis has two battlegrounds, the physical terrain of human struggle and a narrative terrain where those struggles are understood. Welcome back to Frontlines and Headlines. Speaking to you from Amman, Jordan, I'm your host, Coco Huang. In April 2023, Sudan was plunged into chaos as brutal power struggle erupted between the Sudanese armed forces and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, the RSF. What began as a political standoff has spiraled into one of the world's worst humanitarian crises. More than 150,000 killed, millions displaced, entire cities reduced to rubble, and basic services all but destroyed. And through it all, voices on the ground have been silenced. Today, we'll hear from someone who took the risk to make sure the world still knows what's going on. Ezaldeen Arbab is a Sudanese journalist now living in exile. This episode is about the challenges faced by local journalists like him and the role of media in state violence and humanitarian collapse. Hi, Ezaldeen. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and when did you start doing journalism in Sudan? What kind of topics did you cover before the war broke out in 2023?
Okay, my name is Ezaldeen Arbab. I'm a Sudanese journalist with 10 years of experience in journalist. I used to report from different conflict areas across Sudan, and now I live in exile in Uganda due to the ongoing war in Sudan. I mostly used to cover the war in Darfur, in which like 300,000 died and 2 million displaced, and which started in 2003. I also covered the September Revolution, where people protested against the regime of al-Bashir. And I used to cover climate change in Sudan. Climate change also badly affecting the conflict area of Sudan. I also used to cover the violation against human rights in Sudan, press freedom in Sudan also.
Wow.
So this is the most areas I cover.
That's a broad spectrum of all kinds of important issues. So I'm curious, what drew you to journalism in the first place? Like, how did you get started in the industry?
I think it's a talent. I remember I was very young at primary school in my hometown in Niala, which is now, unfortunately, the war zone now. We established, as I remember with my friend, we established a newspaper which focused on the news and stories of the school. And then after I left the primary school, so I jumped it a little bit, and then I started sending stories to the newspapers, the big newspapers in the capital. Because for me, my hometown is a small hometown. After that, I started sending the issues of the city, the entire city. So I moved from the issues of my little school to the issues of my city, which at that time was also tribe conflict and many issues. So since then, and then I moved to Khartoum myself from my little town, and then I did journalism there.
So what are the news outlets that you report for? Are you a freelancer?
Now I'm a freelancer, but I used to work with a newspaper called a Sahava newspaper. That was very hard time because we were under the dictatorship of the regime of al-Bashir, which was very hard with journalists. And at that time, there were no freedom for journalists or free press in Sudan. I started in a very difficult time where they don't let you report anything fairly, where even the editors can change your reporting in order to serve the government, in order to serve the interests of government. So we survived that area. Alhamdulillah, now we are much better.
So I know you also had to flee from Sudan to now Uganda. What was that experience like for you as a journalist?
Actually, I was in Al-Fashir. Al-Fashir now it is a city that's seen a very big humanitarian crisis and so on. We had to be inside bed for days, for 3 days, because I was here at the military headquarters for the most conflict areas. The most conflict areas in Al-Fashir, my house was near there. When the war started, the intensive clashes was there. So I never thought I would be alive. The bullets were coming everywhere, heavy clashes. So I never thought I would be alive. I even called my brothers, my big brothers. I asked him to take care of my families and so on because I thought I was going to die. I was surely I was okay, I'm going to die. This is the end. So it's a very horrible feeling that I can't describe. After some days, somehow we managed to move to the south of the city, which was a bit calm. And after a while, I could manage to travel to Khartoum, the capital. Like from Al Fashir, where I was, to Khartoum is almost 1,000 kilometers away. It was not safe for us. The road was not safe because everyone can catch you and loot you and kill you even. I had to go to another city, which is called Gadarif, is near to Ethiopia, in order to flee because that was the only way. It needed a lot of money. It was not easy even to escape. Mm-hmm. So I had to go through like 3 or 4 cities, and then lastly I went to Al Gadarif city. Al Gadarif is a border of Ethiopia, and then we entered the Gundur. Gundur is a first city near Sudan. And then we had to flee to the capital, Addis Ababa, because we couldn't stay in Addis Ababa. We were not sure about Addis Ababa, how would treat us. We are refugees and fleeing the country and so on. So I had to jump I had to jump to Uganda because for me, I personally know Uganda. I studied here before the war. So I came here to Uganda. So it was not easy even at all. It's cost thousands of dollars. Now we are living here in exile and as refugees and very far from our hometown. And even it's not easy to work. Yes, now all the world is talking about Sudan, but there is no opportunity for us to report. 90% of media houses were destroyed during the war, totally destroyed. And many media managers, media houses laid off their staffs. And the other thing also with the international media, the problem is they need someone who is on the ground. And sometimes also they prefer pictures. So it is hard for you. International media ask you directly whether you are in Sudan. And if you are not in Sudan, they don't prefer the one who are outside. So we are not working. Now most of us are not working. I'm not alone now. We are here in Uganda. There are almost 90 Sudanese journalists who fled the war in Sudan. While also in Egypt, there is 200, almost 300 Sudanese journalists fled in Sudan. Not all Sudanese journalists are able to go back and report from the ground. And in the ground also, there is a lot of restriction. Some part of Sudan are controlled by the army, and the others are controlled by RSF, Rapid Support Forces. If you want to report from the Rapid Support Forces, it's very hard because either you are loyal to them, either you don't report, either you are the enemy, or you're working with the other opposite side. And there is no free movement. If you want to do a report, you have to go to intelligence, military intelligence. You have to report for them. Where are you going? Where are your activities? Your movement, your direction, and everything. So you are not freely allowed to move and report. And this affects your reporting also. And internet also, there are problem of internet. And also, Sudan is very expensive now. You may not worth it to go there and work for as a journalist. It's very hard. Now, according to statistics, there are 10 journalists killed in this war in Sudan during the 2 years in Sudan. And also others were arrested. Very tough situation.
So now you're in Uganda. Have you thought about reporting on other topics, issues in Uganda?
I'm trying to stick to Sudan because we still have sources. We still can get in touch with people on the ground. Thank you to social medias and internet. Recently, like for the Globe and the Mail, the Canadian newspaper, I did a story on mass killing in a Jazeera state. A Jazeera is in central Sudan, killing of 100 people killed by RSF after they attacked the area. Went very viral on international media. Inside the story, there's a story of Al-Fashir. Al-Fashir, people still have internet in Al-Fashir. So we use the internet and I called some resources about the situation in the ground, about the crisis, especially the crisis of water, because in the story we focus on the water. We focus exactly in Zamzam. Zamzam is one of the biggest IDB camps in Al-Fashir, and everyone in the world is talking about. The war destroyed the water facilities there. So we just connect with the internet. I didn't go there in person. But you know what? In order to do good reporting, you have to see your eyes. You have to be on the ground. We have a lot of disinformation, a lot of misinformation. It's very hard to verify. We are trying very hard, but I'm not satisfied, but I'm trying. I'm trying to survive. We have a problem also, we mentioned. Most of our media, Exile media journalists, were working for USAID funded media project. Also, the freeze of the USAID aid also is somehow affecting this media house in Exile. I personally know almost like 70% of Exile Sudanese journalists here working in medias which are funded by USAID. Some of them, like few of them, recently changed their position. Some of them started looking for business, sell things, because you know what, they have to do something to survive, because it's not easy here. We have a lot of journalists also on the ground in Sudan. Some of them is taking the conflict areas. Some of them couldn't manage to escape the country. They couldn't escape the country because they don't have anything. They don't have money for transport. They don't have the cost of living outside. And they are there and they are not working. They are not working either because of the power. They don't have power. They don't have what they are not allowed to work. Maybe they are just evaluating their situation, because sometimes if you are in the controlled area of one of the conflict areas, you cannot work, because the moment you start reporting, you go on the ground, they shoot you. That's that simple. They just shoot you. I had a call from friends, like some journalists in Sudan, they had to survive on 1 meal a day. But also, to be honest, many journalists also were helped by Free Press organization in order to get outside. They got grant and they got outside the country. But the ones they couldn't get a grant, they are still there.
So international media, they want to hire on-the-ground journalists in Sudan, but these journalists, they cannot work because of the limitations on the ground. So who are actually reporting in Sudan?
For international media, some of them are working, like Gulf countries funded media, some of them are working, like Al Arabiya, Al Jazeera, Al Hadath. These are working on the ground. It's extremely dangerous, but I wish one day I can go there. As a journalist, you have to risk. Now I start understanding. You have to take some risk, yes. According to the UN, 10 million displaced from their houses, from their homes in 2 years. So this is one of the biggest war in the world. What people all talking about is just maybe represent only 20% of the story, of the whole story of the 2 years war. This is exactly what a journalist friend who's in the ground told me. He told me like 90% of the stories of the war in Sudan has not been reported yet, has not been spoken about yet. I think international media need to open more opportunities for local journalists in order to report about Sudan. And they have to leave the restriction of they want to certain issues, not what. They have to focus on more issues. They open like opportunities for more Sudanese journalists in order to report on more issues.
So what do you think are the issues that they haven't covered yet?
The stories that have not been covered by the media maybe includes the health, especially in Darfur. The health services are collapsed in Sudan. Can you imagine? People are dying because of malaria, from diseases that can be cured. This is the second war in Darfur within the 20 years. So the health system was already collapsed. This also was not covered well by media. The other thing also, I don't know how to say this, but those outsiders who fuel the war in Sudan, this is also the international media, because they have access to information. They can reach affected people, and they can do reporting very freely, reporting about highlighting the outsiders who fuel the war in Sudan. And also the effect on this war on education. Children are out of school for 2 years now. Some of them for 3 years now. And also how the war also affected the environment. Climate change is still also in the situation in Darfur. I mean, if people are poor, they cut the trees because it's kind of income. It's income. Most people rely on cutting trees. Like they use it for cooking. They have to cut trees in order to sell it and then get food and so on. This somehow affected the weather in Sudan. Even the season of water in Sudan, in Darfur, exactly changed, which affected the farms and affected the way they farm and affected even their income. We have to report because for us, we don't know the other business apart from journalism. We do journalism because we want the world to know the situation in Sudan. We want to bring the attention to the situation in Sudan. And other thing also, this is what we do for living. And this is what we know best. Journalism can create awareness among people. And this awareness can use against the war. I hope, as a Sudanese journalist in exile, I wish we can have more training, because we are still very poor in terms of training, capacity building. Peace also needs power. So we need to empower Sudanese media in order to play a role in stopping this war and ending this suffering. I used to go to refugee camps here in Uganda, and I've seen people like, in their eyes, I can see the pain. Some of them were telling us they are ill, like he's ill, she's ill, and you cannot do anything. This is the hardest part. I went there and did reporting here with the refugees, and it's very difficult. So you just wish the war stop at any cost, because nothing to fight for, because it's just increasing the suffering of people and all people.
This episode was produced by Xuanjie, Coco Huang, with the help of some kind fellows, students, and professors at Brown University. The music is by the Blue Dot Sessions. If you like this episode, stay tuned. We'll be back soon with a new episode of Frontlines and Headlines. Thank you for listening.